Hello my friends, let's start this one from the front lines. We have some major updates coming, and here the Pokrovsk, well, it still holds, and the Russians even tried to get to the central part before there was the infiltration attempt from Ukrainian side with confirmation, but it was roughly 3-4 days ago. Well, Russians somehow decided to put their tank out there. They hide it in this building. This building was tracked by Ukrainian surveillance drones, and the tank was annihilated. Yes, that's how this word is spelled usually. And we have the confirmation about it. I like this map from the Maikos. The link for his social media is in the video description just below, and it's very easy to use. You just click on the symbol and you have the confirmation, geolocation, all of the data, and the original video should be, yeah, it's over here. So we can watch, let's go. This is some sort of the destroyed or damaged building, yeah? Now drone operators go inside. The first attempt was a failure. The drone hit some of the construction, but the next one, it shows definitely freaking Russian tank in Pokrovsk. It is crazy. I wonder what was the reason to put it out there. And of course, Ukraine used absolutely everything to target this position. Multiple of the drones, they hit this place. Not just the tank was there, but also some certain pickup. I'm not sure whether it belongs to Russia or not. The job was performed by 68th Ukrainian Brigade, and guys, I still have doubts like how Russians could do it. Maybe it's the Ukrainian tank that after all was left and Ukraine just didn't manage to take it out. Well, there are no signs on the tank, and as reported, it is a T-72 tank. Well, Ukraine also has T-72. Some of the partners supplied Ukraine with those, but usually it's T-64 tank. So whether it's a really 100% Russian tank, after all, it's hard to say, to be honest, but the job was performed by Ukrainian drone operators. If it is a Ukrainian tank, our guys just didn't want it to go to Russians. I just wonder how Russians potentially could do it to get to this place without being noticed before by Ukrainian surveillance drones. Maybe also bad weather conditions, poor visibility, who knows, so it could be Russian tank. I more lean to that version after all. And now let's go to the deep state military map. We have the update. Russians moved from Promen and they expanded the gray area. I already see it. So let's go yesterday and today. And here, because there is the confirmation of this tank operation or anti-tank operation, there is this advancement of the area. Actually, no Russian infantry is spotted here, just maybe the tank. And from the Promen, yes, Russia moved forward. It was confirmed. Well, I'm still surprised that Ukraine is holding the ground that long in Mirnograd, in Pokrovsk, and still there is the bottleneck that exists. However, it is under the constant Russian fire. They concentrate their artillery, their drone fire on this place, so it's very hard to supply something to Mirnograd. It's very hard to move the forces out as well. And if we check out this crossroad important for evacuation, yes, Ukraine is still capable to withdraw the forces, but with losses. And let me show you this video that was filmed there just for understanding what is happening and why the main losses in Pokrovsk and Mirnograd are happening on the way in and on the way out. So there is the video. Ukrainian vehicles, they are being damaged, lots of the trucks, lots of everything. All of that was lost for the last few weeks. Some of the BMPs, MRAPs, all sort of the vehicles. Well, this one looks pretty much okay, I would say, but will be finished kind of soon. Most of the vehicles are Western made, so clearly, guys, it's the mistake of the Ukrainian military command that it was holding the forces for such a long time. It actually reminds me of the counteroffensive of Ukraine of 2023. Then there was the concentration of the armored vehicles at a very specific spot. Russians aimed to it with the drones. The defense was organized by the General Popov, who is now in the Russian prison. Pretty much successful, and now similar stuff we see on this picture. Yeah, and this one is smoking. It means that it is a fresh strike. That's why volunteers, Ukrainian military officers, are calling for reforms in the Ukrainian army. Because if command allows it to happen, it means that it is not competent. It is not normal. Those losses should have never ever happened. Together with the losses in Mirnograd itself, because there were at least two of the occasions, then Ukrainian soldiers were imprisoned and flatlined by Russians. And yeah, if we zoom out this image, like here, you can see that there are many more of the vehicles. This crossroad, it is no-go. Well, we have some of the fresh news that Zelensky instructed the military to reconsider manning brigades because still there are new brigades created and the existing ones have sometimes 20-30% of the equipment and the man-force, which is, I would say, is not a case of the same stuff is happening since 2022 even. So President Zelensky instructed to review the distribution of the personnel between the brigades. He said his report after meeting of the Supreme Commander-in-Chief Staff on November 26. According to him, after his trip to the front, he received many requests from military, including a fair distribution of soldiers between brigades. So finally, he obtained some of the, well, I think he knew about this problem before, but behind Syrsky, he obtained more information about the critical situation with the Ukrainian brigades. And it's just the one thing that should be reformed. We're speaking about entire military command that mainly should be changed, let's say, with a general commander as well. It's my opinion, but it is also the opinion of majority of people in Ukraine and soldiers and officers and volunteers. Yeah. Because our guys are in a very serious situation there in Mirnograd, and it's not getting better, my friends. That limited counteroffensive, it is already gone, you know. That happened roughly 3 days ago. Now Russia again has the advantage. They're moving forward, as I showed you, and they disturb Ukrainian supplies. So the only way is to move out the forces, which should have been done freaking long time ago. All of the defense lines should have been built a long time ago, and yeah, this general strategy is simply not working well. But Ukrainian heroes, Ukrainian soldiers, they continue still to defend Ukraine no matter what. From the Pokrovsk, let's go to the northern area where Russians were spotted on the way to Vladimirivka. Let me show you one of the videos. It seems like I have it. Right, from Mirnograd, Pokrovsk, let's go to the Dobropilya direction. Here, Russians were spotted on the way to Vladimirivka and Shahove. Now, it's their main goal once again to advance to Zoloty Kolodets, actually. Yeah, Russia has two of the aims in this small area. Yeah, here they go, the group of Russians, they were not even hiding actually, and I cannot show you this video fully because there are lots of the Russians who probably went the same way but were less successful compared to this group. They're just somehow relaxing on the ground. They don't want to move somehow, but those are still moving. The video is fresh and it was filmed in Novotoretsky, yeah. Really on the way to Vladimirivka. Vladimirivka is partially occupied by Russians. Here it is on this map, a little behind the front lines, and Russians continue to infiltrate Vladimirivka and this entire area, but Ukraine is using some of the drones. Maybe that Russian group is no more. Who knows, who knows? I'm waiting for more of the drone videos published from the front lines. And this video really shows the scale of the Russian losses, because every few meters their bodies lying. Yeah, it's crazy. Now Ukraine is actively using FP2 drones, long-range strikes, so those are the buildings which are taken by Russians in Pokrovsk. FP2 drones are larger than FP1 and capable to carry significant payload, around 100 kilograms. That's a lot. There are lots of the kabooms happening, so it's like a big FPV drone now, those FP2 drones. The drone operators control those very, very precisely, and here's some sort of the something here on the road, it's hard to say. It's sklad, so it's the ammunition storage. Nice. And the 3rd Army Corps was capable to kaput the Russian TOS Solntsepek system. And this weapon is really terrifying. There's almost no hide from it in the trenches. So just in maybe closed buildings you may hide from it, and still the shells, those thermobara shells, may reach even inside. But the biggest disadvantage for the Solntsepek that it has a very short range, so Ukrainian drone operators are capable to aim it Just like that, it is happening as usual out there on the front lines. Yeah, nice image here. Probably it will go on the thumbnail. Plus, also not far away from Mirnograd Pokrovsk, Ukraine hit a Grad system. This artillery has a longer range than Soltsepok. This is how it looks, and this is the specific video. There was the drone drop on this one. Phew! And kaboom! Yeah, actually there is nothing left from this vehicle because there were some of the shells geolocated and confirmed. Well, the Institute for the Study of War, they show that this entire area is the gray zone. Yeah, I may agree with them that this is all entire gray zone, but still it's not impossible for Ukraine to withdraw the forces at least partially. Well, ISW projects that with the current Russian pace, they will be able to occupy entire Donetsk region somewhere in 2027. As Donald Trump says that Ukraine will lose those territories anyways, well, could be, but at the same time, Russia will have to fight for it. And we know that it's not the easy job for Russia will be to maintain its army capable to compensate the losses for those at least 2 years, plus also sustain the military format of its economy. Russia wants to obtain Donbass just like that for Ukraine to give up without any fight, which is nonsense, obviously. And we'll see, it's just their forecast. Maybe it will take Russia 3 years, 4 years, who knows, because in multiple of the points of the front lines, Russia didn't manage to move that fast, especially from Bakhmut, Chasiv Yar, they basically stuck there. It depends on particular region, defense lines, and Donbass is pretty much defended. Alright, from Pokrovsk, Dobropilia, let's go to the south. Here Russians, just look how many aviation gliding bombs they use on Hulai Pole, and they're very close already, almost reaching the settlement. Here Russians propel in the fastest way possible from all of the front lines. Let's check out what they used here. They just bomb everything. We have the confirmation. We have this video from the Russian drone. Yeah, I think it is the Russian drone, and Ukraine should have anti-drone systems deployed, drone interceptors. Yeah, lots of the stuff is happening here again and again. That's how Russians propel. Well, Russians also hit the central part of Hulai Pole with their FAB 500 bombs. Really, aviation bombs are the most devastating weaponry. Yeah, it happened even in that very central place of Hulai Pole. But you know what? On some of the Russian maps, they showed that Russians already occupied this district of Hulai Pole. They're showing something like this. Yeah, this area is occupied, which means that they're bombing their own forces, yeah? So, of course, those maps are the bullshit, but there is the preparation, we see, yeah, with aviation gliding bombs for the further advancement of Russians. They cause Ukrainians to retreat from those areas under the aviation bomb strikes, and later on they continue with their infiltration attacks. And the Hulai Pole, well, it's gonna be the fight for it pretty much soon. The deep state military map also shows some of the update from this area. Yeah, Russians moved. I already see it. It was yesterday. It is today. Russians occupied Chervona, Zeleny High. I think it's also occupied, just temporary in a gray area shown because we don't have the confirmation with the Russian flags or something like that. But I think Ukrainian presence there is not possible that far away in that pocket. So our guys are retreating from this area. And for Hulai Pole, it's tricky now. The fight for it even might happen the next month in December. Also, Russians moved with this gray area towards Priluki. Let's check it out. Yes, it was the advancement, and Zeleny is here. Here goes the main defense line of Ukraine all across, or not across, alongside this river. But for the last couple of days, Russians were not capable to advance further in this northern area towards Pokrovsk, which is pretty much good. I think that the weather improved a little bit in the southern place, so Russians cannot continue with their more or less safe infiltration attempts under the fog cover. In Kamensk, well, here Ukraine actually tries again to counterattack. We have the confirmation. I think it is coming from Stepnogorsk. Yeah, actually we have the confirmation. Well, this video I cannot really show on YouTube. Maybe I'm gonna film the separate video for you and share it on Telegram. My Telegram channel is in the video description right below, so you may check it out. Our guys, well, this is some unusual rifle. This is not Kalashnikov. I think it is AR type of the rifle or something like that. So our guys definitely showed the confirmation that they operate clearing the settlement from Russians. Yeah, really kind of intense video, even with grenades. So again, this is the geolocation. It is happening in Stepna here itself. This is the expanded gray area, but the fighting itself is happening very close to the road. All right, from the south, let's go to Konstantinivka. Russians entered the city pretty much a long time ago with the gray area expansion. They have their drone operations inside the city. It is absolutely not safe to be there, but roughly 2 months ago I saw that some of the journalists were even filming some of the videos. Now it's not possible. Well, here the big problem for Russians that this settlement is bigger than Pokrovsk, it is more defended, and Russia has just a single attack vector. They still haven't managed to advance from Chasiv Yar even close to Konstantinivka. So their usual tactics, attacking from at least 2 of the sides, is not working as usual. Here is the big pocket, yeah, like this big, but still it's not enough to press Ukrainian supplies. Of course, Ukraine has multiple of the roads available to get to Konstantinivka or to rotate the forces out. Siversk, no any changes out there, the same as it was before. Russians entered Zvanivka, yeah, they entered it 4 days ago. Liman, also no changes. If we go to the northern area here, Russians try to propel towards Boguslavka. Is it the Kharkiv region? I think it is a Kharkiv region. They're creating this some sort of the pocket here, Boguslavka, very close to the river of Oskil. Russians went with the infantry forces. No, even like that, full height, marching, or what? It's a rare picture nowadays, guys. They managed to get to the settlement as it's shown on the map, and later on Ukraine started to operate against those. Here we see, yeah, FPV drones hitting those positions, but some of them didn't even make it to the settlement. There were some of the drone drops, yep. Yeah, kind of the big presents were delivered. Christmas is still far away, but Ukraine has express delivery. Unexpectedly, it happened 1 month earlier. I just wonder what was in their heads that they decide just to walk like that to that settlement with kind of the large group of the soldiers. Unusual, yeah? Not during the nighttime in kind of the good weather conditions. It's not a fog, it's nothing. They're just walking, spotted by drones, and were flat-lined by the drones. It's kind of rare that I see something like that happening on the front lines, but it is happening. Usually they are smarter than that. Yeah, honestly, this is very, very strange. And here our guys commented that there were 2 of the groups of the Russian infantry, so not a single one, 2 groups. Wow. But Ukraine also has losses. One of the Ukrainian vehicles was hit in the same village with a Russian infiltration attempt. And also Ukraine lost this tank in Borova. The rest of the front lines were more or less stable. And what we have here, Ukrainian drone, and yeah, the Russian air defense hit this one, but the other drone hit something there. Yeah, you saw it. Just put attention to this point. It was a kaboom, yeah, definitely. This is the standard target already for Ukrainian drones in Novokuybishevsk refinery in Samara. Also, one more drone was spotted in the Russian Tula region. That's the place where Russia produces some of the weapons, also Kalashnikov. That's kind of the interesting drone, by the way. It looks like beaver, but it is not a beaver drone. It's a little bigger. Well, Ukraine has multiple of the drones, lots of the projects. Ukraine constantly developing new weapons, especially long-range weapons. Well, so far there are no kabooms reported, but this is the very fresh video just published. The Russians are shocked. This Freddy Krueger-style nail person confirms the Ukrainian drone presence in Taganrog. Yeah, we understand it's very concerning, the vast spectrum of emotions. Can we help? Well, Ukraine tries to help as much as it can. Whoa! That's just a special military operation, nothing serious, come on. They need to listen to Russian TV, they explain them everything. What is this? Cheboksary. Some noise in the background, probably drone, yep. Just usual stuff in Russia, come on. The Russian air defense worked well, those are just the debris that hit something. yeah, occasionally happens. Glory to Russian air defense. Oh, the Ukrainian drone technologies are being purchased by Britain and they will start the massive production of the drone interceptors. That's how it should be done. Cooperation between allies. Ukraine obtains weapons from NATO countries and also delivers something new. NATO is in lack of those drone interceptor technologies and they crucially need those because there are lots of the drone provocations happening on territory of EU countries. Alright, Peskov was asked about the leaked communication between Vitkov, Ushakov and Dmitriev and Ushakov. So maybe it was after all Ushakov's account that was looked through, especially Ushakov himself confirmed that he was calling via WhatsApp. Well, Peskov, Kremlin spokesman, said that there is nothing special about that conversation, it's just a standard job, blah blah blah, and Vitkov is still going to go to Moscow the next week probably. Well, now it's already evident that he is a Russian assert, he works to propel Russian interests and he tells the Russians of how to manipulate his own president and fella Donald Trump. This is crazy unhinged, but the conversation leak itself that was published initially by Bloomberg, it was already confirmed that it is real, legit. Two of the conversations, as I mentioned you before, both from Ushakov, and now it is clear, evident that the so-called peace deal originates from Russia and was just Google translated into English. Well, of course, American officials, they all say that that conversation is fake, but we have the confirmation from Russia itself. Russians do not deny that it is a real conversation, recorded and leaked. The White House just wants to show that everything is okay, do not look there, no, it's not happening. They shit their pants, propelling a Russian deal, but they want to show that it doesn't smell at all. Which makes it even more awkward, and now main news outlets, they're telling that this conversation is definitely legit. Still, no one knows where it was leaked from. I guess it was the United States intelligence, but after all, I cannot state it by 100%. Russia also could be in a way interested in to torpedo their own deal because their goal is just to continue the war, but I would not bet on that after all because the deal is kind of profitable for Russia. Also, some of the experts say that it could be Europe or UK intelligence that got the access to that conversation. It could be, yeah, but the fact is the fact. The conversation is definitely legit, and Trump's administration just fails once again. Everyone sees it, understands it, but Donny is Donny. By the way, just for love, the article from Politico: Allies worry United States demands Ukraine deal before security guarantees. Definitely, Rubio and all of those clowns, they want Ukraine to agree on this peace deal proposal that was corrected without any freaking security guarantees. And when Ukraine signs everything of that, only after it, they will look for the possible security guarantees, which allegedly should be as the Article 5 style NATO guarantees, which are not guarantees. So this is bullshit. Ukraine should not agree on that one, but even if it agrees, it doesn't matter because Russia continue its war in Ukraine and there are no any freaking signs for it to stop. Russian officials tell that everything is okay, they will continue their special military operation. Every Russian representative is telling about it. Lavrov, Peskov, Ushakov, Putin himself. And the White House, it's just delusional. Those are clowns. Driscoll also is a clown, new clown in a team. We have the new update about his behavior. Then he went to Ukraine and he threatens Ukraine and Europeans, the ambassadors of the European country, that Russia is preparing more weapons. It's producing more rockets. So you should make this deal right now. Otherwise, Russia smashes you. You see, everything is upside down. Ukraine is protecting Europe. They want for Ukraine to capitulate. They want Russia to take Ukraine, basically, if Ukraine signs those agreements as they published before, yeah? It's literally a capitulation of Ukraine, encouragement of aggression. So that is what important. The Europeans, they understand that, but those clowns, no. So United States have the parallel diplomacy. Steve Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner will visit Moscow. Everything remains in place. It was confirmed by the deputy of the Russian foreign minister, Sergei Ryabkov. Yeah, this Russian team will go to Russia. Nothing new. I really like the speech of Garry Kasparov, Russian oppositioner and chess master champion. He took part in security conference where he said the situation as it is with the European defense and Ukraine that plays the key role in it. Let's listen to this one. It's very interesting.
It's not about how many weapons you have, ammunition. It's are you willing to fight and die? Oh, it's nice. You have a Canadian-led brigade in Latvia. What's the order for this brigade? Will they shoot if Russians cross the border? We know the answer. It will take ages to negotiate.
Yeah, he is right. With the first statement, like you may have the advanced weapons and great quality of the weapons, but imagine for European countries to sustain losses, for example, of Ukraine or losses of Russia. Ukraine probably lost around 400,000 people, something close to that number. Russia, more than 1 million. So is Europe ready for this scale of the war nowadays? Then the value of the human life is skyrocketing? I don't think so. And he also mentioned this, for example, Canadian brigade, or it could be a German brigade placed in Baltics. Will they really engage in the fight in the first hours? Then it's the most important thing to do. Just a couple of weeks ago, there were the news published about NATO reforms that they are looking to expedite the reaction time for the deployment of the NATO forces into the Eastern Europe from freaking 45 days to 3 up to 5 days. There are lots of the logistics issues, and we understand that Russian army is more prepared for 21st century war compared to NATO. NATO didn't take the part in those scale of the wars at all.
I still didn't hear a clear response to, it's not, I can't even imagine this. How can we discuss seriously the deal made by Trump's business partner? It's a real estate deal to enrich Trump's family and sell Ukraine. And how can we seriously discuss that Ukraine will have to give up fortifications that are saving Europe? We're celebrating NATO. NATO is not strong. NATO doesn't exist. It's a fake. It's NATO, 4 letters.
Yeah, I wouldn't say like NATO is totally fake, but NATO looks very useless with all of those drone intercepting into NATO airspace together with Russian fighter jets. Then Mark Rutte, Secretary of NATO, says, they do not possess any threat. And just recently, one of the drones went at first to Moldova, then to Romania. And you know what is happening all across the Europe with those drone attacks. Well, European officials call those drone incidents, but they are not. They are actually provocations done by Russia to see how NATO countries would react on those provocations. And we see that Europe is useless with this reaction. That's the big problem. Kasparov over-exaggerates here, telling that NATO is useless, but he could be actually right. I also compare NATO to some sort of the United Nations organization. Yeah, lots of the bureaucracy, lots of the walls in achieving real result.
The reason you are still sitting here and celebrating it, Ukraine is dying every minute. It's a massive sacrifice. If not for Ukraine standing in front of Russia, Russian tanks would be already in Poland. You all suggested that Ukraine would give up. You offered Zelensky a right. And he said, I don't need right ammunition. 4 years Ukraine is fighting for the whole Europe. NATO was built to fight only one war, not to go to Afghanistan, not to go to Syria, one war to save free Europe from Russian aggression. Ukraine is the only country that is fighting this war, and we are still discussing, should we include them or not? Ukraine is the only country that is fulfilling NATO's destiny. And we owe them everything. Let's sacrifice them. But Zelensky is making, I don't know even how to explain this choice. As a Russian, I also feel guilty. That's why I cannot tell him, show Trump middle finger. But again, we have how many senators we have here? Are you going to tell Donald Trump that he cannot do that? You have 85 is more than 2/3, yes? If I'm out of 100.
Senator?
So, yes, how come that, this bill is still sitting somewhere on the floor of the Senate, and it's not still being done? Putin, Xi Jinping, all others, they are celebrating it.
Yeah, it was a great speech, actually, and quite truthful what is happening, highlighting what is happening in Europe, in Ukraine, in United States of America, and the embarrassment that Europe continued to purchase Russian resources, and they actually spend more money for that, refueling Russian war machine, than they spent funds for Ukrainian military, to support Ukrainian military. United States, they don't care. For them, Ukraine is just an obstacle. If Russia takes Ukraine, Trump would like to have the deal with Russia about Arctics, about rare earth minerals, Russian resources, and so on. So for him, this is the war, some of the regional conflict. Russia wants just Donbass, It's not about Donbass. It's about Russia that is building its new empire. It's about the global threat. But stupid clowns in the White House and stupid NATO officials, they do not understand it. Absolutely. Well, maybe partially NATO understands that together with some of the European officials, but there is no unity and there is no real help for Ukraine as it should be. 4 years of war, it's just a miracle how our guys continue to fight with that kind of the attitude from our allies. Can I call them allies? Partners, maybe. And just to finish this one with Kaboom, this is the French-made Mirage 2000 firing missile to hit Russian cruise missile over Ukraine. Awesome. Mirage is very, very capable. My friends, thank you so much for making this content possible through your support on Patreon. The link for my Patreon is in the video description just below, or you may support my job on membership pressing the join button somewhere over here. If you don't have this opportunity to support me in that way, well, you may just press like to this video and subscribe for the channel. It matters a lot. This helps YouTube to recognize this video as a popular one and propel it throughout YouTube algorithms. Thank you so much for that support as well. My friends, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are and have a great time.